Welcome to the 10-Minute Life Lesson Podcast. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne. When this timer hits 9 minutes and 55 seconds in this recording, you'll have a fully developed life lesson that you can take with you and begin immediately implementing. The podcast falls under the umbrella of my greater personal development efforts, all under the Your Better You brand. For information on accountability coaching or to gain access to tools, tricks, or life hacks, visit yourbetteryouinfo. Thank you for joining me on the journey today. Now, here is this week's life lesson. I have been preparing myself for this moment for a very, very long time. And the moment, of course, is being independent. Having to do this thing on my own, by myself, with very little support from any sort of corporate sponsor. Since I no longer work for the big corporation radio station as a full-time gig, I no longer have that big-time radio station, although it wasn't really big-time pay, that was coming in to pay most of the bills while I did this independent media thing. Now the independent media thing is what's supposed to be paying the bills, and it's not happening as quickly as I would like, but that's pretty much how these things work. So here's the thing. While I was trying hard to get ready for this for quite some time, when it turned out the time was there to really make it happen, when I basically had to put up or shut up, I wasn't ready. And I'm not quite ready. So there's still other things in place, but what I have going on is, as I've actually said many times in this podcast, isn't paying the big bulk of the bills. Although now I'm asking to do more to pay more of the bulk of the bills. But by the time it turned out to me being a full-time independent, I was not ready. And guess what? By the time that big thing that you've been working for will happen, you probably won't be ready, even if you're the one that pulls the trigger and gets started on the path. Maybe you're like me and you had a thought of a dream job, a dream career, something to shoot for, and it required a lot of sacrifice and a whole lot of luck to get there. And even if you are the one to take that step and actually apply and get that, by the time you actually take that first step or take that first day in the job, you'll find out there's a lot that you didn't really know once you got there that all of a sudden you must deal with. And you weren't quite prepared for it. You were close, but there was something that wasn't quite ready to go, and you'll have to learn it on the job, in the process, because you don't always know what you don't know until you show up and show everybody what you don't know. It might not be anything that large. It might be something a bit smaller, not so grandiose, but you're going to find that there's something that is out there that you really, really want. If you don't know what it is, you'll eventually get someplace where there's an itch that all of a sudden needs scratching, needs attention, something that really at this moment becomes the thing that you truly want to focus on, and you have to deal with it, working towards it, moving towards it, and the moment that you get there and you get a chance to do it, or maybe the moment you get there and you find out you can't do it because you're not ready. Maybe it's really dire and you must be ready to really do it, so that's one thing. Or maybe it's not so dire and you're ready for a pretty good start, you just don't have all the tools ready to go. Just like I said, by the time it turned into now my business is what I'm doing for a living, I wasn't quite prepared. So it's not quite as up to speed as I'd like it to be. But I can get there because now I know what it really is that needs to be done and what I was truly missing. So there are 3 things you need to do when you find out that you're not ready. When the time comes for you to step up and get to the plate and make that swing, and you find out that you should have taken a little more time, taken more cuts in practice. 3 things to worry about to get yourself up to speed as quickly as possible because you know you're not ready. And the first thing is to realize you're not ready and go through your stages of grief, your stages of change. Go through all your stages, but do it quickly. Take as much time as you need to grieve. I say that often, but no more. In fact, this time you may need to take a little less. You need to really, really, really get through your process of grieving as quickly as possible, as seamlessly as possible, moving forward as well as you can. Because the biggest thing about realizing that you don't have it is now you got to go find it. So you have to stop worrying about what you don't have and start worrying about what you need to go fix and find. And that's actually deviously simple. Once you get started and you're forced to see what you got, you'll also see what you don't got and People will tell you what you need that you don't got, and you can go figure out how to make that work. It's not that difficult. Just think about what it is that you're missing and go at it. But first, you have to get over yourself and get over the grief of not being where you want to be at the very beginning. The second thing is you have to plan accordingly for getting to that place or gathering that thing or working on whatever it is that you find that you are lacking in the moment. You can't just willy-nilly start pointing towards a star and just start walking that direction. You can, but chances are you'll have a much more painful, much more stumbling, bumbling path to wherever you want to go. And chances are you may get close, but not quite close enough, as if you had an actual map to navigate on land as opposed to just going by the stars. It's great to have just a grand idea and think you can just kind of wander towards where you want to, sort of kung fu roaming the earth till you get there. But the honest truth is, if you don't have a plan, even if your plan's not a great plan, if you don't have a plan to start, you really don't know where you're going to get. You really don't know where you're going, or how far you're going to get, or what it's going to take to get from point A to point B. You can't plan for it unless you plan accordingly for your actual delivery, your actual path, your actual way to that way. And the last thing you need to do is, after that plan's in place, get going and hang on for the ride of your life. Literally in some cases, but hang on, because the path to getting to what you're missing is going to be a crazy path indeed. It's not going to be a straight path. It's not going to be a path without encumbrances, without barriers, without obstacles to climb, mountains to climb, walls to get around, valleys to go through, mountains, oceans to swim through, things like that. There's going to be so many obstacles in your way just on the day that you figure out, this is the day I want to do this thing, and I can't actually do it, but I need to figure out a way to make doing it a priority. It's really kind of crazy, but you're going to find as much enjoyment in the suffering that you'll find that you must do to get to where it is you need to be proficient in what you want to do than you will in the good, glad times. You'll find enjoyment in it on the back end, of course. You'll find plenty of times to understand how things work and to relish in the fact that what you're putting into it will come back to you in great dividends. But you're going to have to deal with it, and it's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be depressing. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be very, very demeaning. It's going to be a whole lot of things to get to where you need to go, and you just need to hold on and deal with each and every one of them. And know that other people who blazed that trail before you did the same thing. They had to go through every single step that you're taking, through every single obstacle that you're going over, past every wall, swim every lake, whatever it was in the way. Someone had to do it first. And because they did it first, you should be able to do it much quicker this time, because you'll see the paths that go around the obstacles or the marks to the line where the water is the shallowest so you can make your way through. Don't be afraid of all the things that you're going to go through, because you don't have a choice. That's what's going to happen to get to where you need to get to. But that is truly the path you must go, what it is you need to do to get to where it is. As I said, 3 simple things to get to where you want to go once you realize you're not ready. First things first, take time to grieve. You have a reason to grieve. You have plenty of license to take to be upset and deal with it as need be, but you need to grieve as quickly as possible and get going, because that thing you want to do, it's not necessarily going to wait on you because you're feeling sad. Plan accordingly on the path to getting what you need to get to finally be able to do what you're doing. Because you're only missing a small piece of something. You're not missing the full picture. You know what it is that needs to be done. Just got to find a way to actually acquire it. And of course, go out there and acquire it. But as you do, just be prepared for a whole lot of crazy. Hang on for the ride of your life, because it's going to be very, very wild. And except when it's not, except when it is. The path towards what it is you want to do is going to be great, because what you want to do is pretty great. But that path is going to show up for you exactly when you don't want it to, and that's exactly when you think you're ready to do it. You find out you're not. And you deal with it, but you keep working at it. Thank you very much for listening to this week's podcast. This movement, this thing we do with the 10-Minute Life Coach, 10-Minute Life Lesson, whatever we call it today. Formerly 10-Minute Life Coach, now 10-Minute Life Lesson. Whatever we do with this is literally all about doing it for you. So if you like what we're doing, let us know. That's the number one thing, let us know. Of course, there are 2 podcasts to the Your Better You project, yourbetteryou.info, the home for all the stuff. There is Steps to Your Better You, which is 90 seconds of quick wisdom, and this one, which is, of course, 10-Minute Life Lesson, which is now about 9 minutes and 30 seconds of actual life lesson every single time. But before you hit the 10-minute mark on these podcasts, you have the lesson. It's ready to go, and hopefully you're enjoying what we're doing. The music is a little, I'm learning to get used to the way the music is working, and that's just how it is. But hopefully you're liking the format, liking to be a bit more formal, a bit more formulated, if you will, and easy to follow, so we can start doing more interactive things on that end once we have the time to put it together, to be honest. So 2 podcasts living at yourbetteryou.info. You can reach out to me and the rest of the team for this by going to yourbetteryouinfo@gmail.com, or actually emailing that one, or going to the main website as well. Directly, you can talk to me via jclevenpayne@gmail.com, and of course, jclevenpayne.net, the main website. You've heard that before. We often plug other things here as well, other projects have going on. The main way to find what's going on is by going to that website, jclevenpayne.net, or checking out the website, morebettermedia.com, where all the podcasts and media stuff I have live. That's a lot to digest. I apologize if it's a lot to digest, but we're doing what we can do to make this thing happen as best as possible, and it works for you, and in return, I ask for a little support. So the main support I'm asking for is check out the things we have going on. Make sure you yourself are subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss out on these podcasts. Share the podcast with other people, like-minded people looking for personal and professional development, so that we have a larger crowd, a larger audience of people all working together to get better. And of course, the most important thing is stay with us. Be here next week for another great episode, another great edition. Let me say the right name of the podcast again. 10-Minute Life Lesson Podcast from yourbetteryou.info.